Cultural relativism.
We all do no end of feeling, and we mistake it for thinking. Mark Twain.
Subjective, intersubjective, and objective claims. A claim or judgment is subjective if its truth depends on whether or not it conforms to the tastes, attitudes, and beliefs of the person who claims it. For example, anchovies taste yummy, a matter of taste. A claim or judgment is intersubjective if its truth depends on whether or not it conforms to the beliefs, attitudes, and conventions of the group to which the claimer belongs. For example, it's rude to belch at the dinner table, which is a matter of custom. A claim or judgment is objective if its truth does not depend on whether it conforms to the beliefs or attitudes of any group or individual. For example, the Earth is spherical, which is a matter of fact. Ethical relativism is the view that all moral claims are intersubjective. Conventional ethical relativism, a more specific type of ethical relativism, holds that the moral conventions of a culture determine what is right and wrong for the members of that culture to do. On this view, seemingly conflicting moral judgments can be equally correct when made from within different cultural contexts. For instance, consider the claim it is wrong to eat beef, which is true from within Orthodox Hinduism, but false from within certain other cultures. This type of relativism claims that moral reformers are simply misguided and that moral progress is impossible. It also claims that there is little, if any, point to moral argument and moral deliberation. Cultural relativism is the claim that different cultures have different moral codes. However, is this the key to understanding morality? Cultural relativism says that there are no independent standards by which to judge correct or incorrect actions. All standards are in fact culture-bound. The concept of cultural relativism contains the following claims. First, there is no objective truth in morality. Right and wrong are only matters of opinion, and opinions vary from culture to culture. Therefore, there's no objective standard that can be used to judge one societal code better than another. Second, different cultures have different moral codes, and the moral code of a society determines what is right within that society. So the moral code of our own society has no special status. And third, it's mere arrogance for us to try to judge the conduct of other peoples. We should therefore adopt an attitude of tolerance toward the practices of other cultures. Is this a sound argument? Does it necessarily follow that just because people disagree that there is no objective truth? Relativism of this type sometimes leads to truths that are later disproved. Can we take cultural relativism seriously? If we did, we could no longer say that the customs of other societies are morally inferior to our own, and that means any customs. Is there anything good about cultural relativism then? Well, yes, we become more tolerant of other people, and we realize that we may be blinded by our own cultural prejudices. Are there any values that all cultures might have in common? There are a few. For instance, care for the young, truth-telling, the prohibition against murder. Can you think of others? If we were to try to develop a culture-neutral standard of rightness, what might that be like? Well, first of all, objectively valid moral principles are those that promote and protect the interests of all relevant beings. So on this view, whether a cultural practice is morally good or bad will depend on whether it promotes or hinders the welfare of those who are affected by it. Ethical subjectivism is the idea that our moral opinions are based on our feelings and nothing more. There is no right or wrong, only expressions of our feelings. Therefore, we can't judge another's opinion as being wrong or right, since it's merely an opinion and nothing else. Here's the kind of argument ethical subjectivism boils down to. Using sex to sell products is morally acceptable, in my opinion. Or using sex to sell products is morally unacceptable, in my opinion. Since both are statements of opinion, neither can really contest the other. Thus, there are no such things as moral facts, only our attitudes about morality. The problem is that this argument assumes only two possibilities. One, there are moral facts in the same way that there are facts about stars and planets. Or, our values are nothing more than the expression of our subjective feelings. Just those two possibilities. The problem is that this argument overlooks a crucial third possibility. Moral truths are, in fact, truths of reason. That is, a moral judgment is true if it's backed by better reasons than the alternatives. Think of accepting ethical subjectivism as an excuse. We don't usually allow people to do things simply because they feel they're right. We want reason. What we've done instead is to develop theories of rightness and obligation based on the notion of reason. For example, each person ought to do whatever will best promote his or her own interests. This is called ethical egoism. We ought to do whatever will promote the greatest happiness for the greatest number of people. This is called utilitarianism. Our duty is to follow rules that we could consistently will to be universal laws. That is, rules that we would be willing to have followed by all people in all circumstances. This is Kant's moral theory. And we ought to strive to develop a good character. This is what's known as virtue ethics. A theory is a model based on and representing reality. If it works as a model, it can then be used to guide and or predict reality. Some of the ethical theories we'll be looking at will be consequential theories and non-consequential theories, social contract theory, and virtue or character ethics.